and Medicaid Services Administrator Mehmet Oz says the government has tariff policy in its arsenal if prices aren't brought down.
We have drugs that work, but America is not going to shoulder the burden for the whole world. We're going to use trade and tariff, and the president's been clear about this, to push up the prices of these drugs overseas so we can drop our prices accordingly.
Air quality alerts were in place for Wisconsin Thursday. Fox 6 Milwaukee's Sam Kramer explains why.
You could feel it, you could smell it, you could even see it along the city skyline. Smoke from Canadian wildfires drifting over the border tanked the air quality for cities up and down Wisconsin. At one point, Swiss-based IQ Air had Beloit, Milwaukee, and Green Bay as part of the top 10 cities with the worst air quality in the nation. The Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center shows it's been another devastating year for fires. More than 15 million acres have already burned, and of the 640-plus active fires there, a quarter of them are burning out of control.
A Canadian Christian educator and conservative activist is convinced that Canada's leader has brought curse upon the nation. Chad Groening has more.
Just one day after Britain announced its recognition of a Palestinian state, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced that our neighbor to the north will do the same. The Canadian leader said, quote, Canada intends to recognize the state of Palestine at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025. Dr. Charles McVitie is president of Canada Christian College and president of the Institute for Canadian Values.
The Christian and Jewish communities are horrified by Carney's wanton disregard for decency, democracy, and peace, because he is rewarding Hamas for their massacre of innocent young Israelis, and he's rewarding them with a state that has never existed in human history.
McVitie says Carney has demonstrated great hatred for the Jewish people, and he's demonstrated great hatred for Christians.
So this is fitting with the globalist, secularist person that he is, but unfortunately the horror of it, and I use the strongest words possible, because Genesis 12:3 says that God will bless those who bless thee and curse those who curse thee.
I'm Chad Groening.
A child drowned in Mount Airy, Maryland Thursday as heavy rain fell across the Mid-Atlantic region. Fox 45 Baltimore's Keith Daniels has more.
That tragic accident happened in an area where neighbors say children often play. The spokesman for the Mount Airy Volunteer Fire Company says children were playing in a grassy area that dips into a drainage area during heavy rain just after 5 o'clock, when suddenly the victim was caught up in a fast-moving, deep drainage stream that came down from the area just above where he was playing. Now, he got caught up, they say, in that stream and couldn't get out of it. It swept him into a drain pipe underneath the street. On Mount Airy, Keith Daniels, Fox News.
More news available online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Every day, AFA offers biblical insight on issues that others aren't willing to touch, in the hopes that you'll become a world changer. That's why we're offering an in-depth worldview training course called Activate. 13 different professors teaching 18 sessions, all available online, including a printed workbook to help you apply what you've learned, and 1-year access to AFA streaming content to give you even more resources. Find out more about Activate and sign up today at activate.afa.net.
Welcome to Real Truth for Today with Pastor Jeff Shreve, Senior Pastor of First Baptist Church in Texarkana, Texas. Now, here's Pastor Jeff.
Well, good morning and welcome to Real Truth for Today. Pastor Jeff Shreve here. Hope you're having a great Friday morning. Debbie and I had my middle daughter, I mentioned this yesterday, my middle daughter Amy came in on Wednesday night, and with her 3 boys. Jack is 4, Chase is 2, and Drew is 5 months. And we gave them a little break. They're in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, enjoying just being away from kids and having a little overnighter. And so Debbie and I are flying solo with those 3 boys. And last night was a little rough, but not too bad. Debbie's still great at at handling babies. I've never been much of a baby guy. I do better when they get a little older. So as soon as Jack turns 15, I'm going to really kick in. No, just kidding. I do really good when they get to be about a year and a half, 2 years. Man, that's my sweet spot for little kids. But we're having a great time. Well, speaking of having a great time, at First Baptist Texarkana, we have an event scheduled on a Sunday night, August 17th, a free event for the whole community with magician extraordinaire Ben Jackson. Debbie and I were introduced to Ben Jackson by a friend, David Hyra, and he told us about Ben, and we went to see his show that he has there at the Four Seasons Hotel in Houston. It's Magic, Music, and Mayhem, and it's the #1 rated show on TripAdvisor. If you go to Houston, I encourage you to go see Ben. Amazing in his presentation, in his sleight of hand. He is a master at working the room and making you feel just like you're part of what he's doing, and you just like him right off the bat. And so he is my guest today. We want to talk about magic and more with Ben Jackson. So Ben, welcome to the program.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you well. All right, I'm getting a little bit of echo, Devin, but if you can fix that for me, that'd be great. Okay, so Ben, I was reviewing your bio. You are a Texas A&M grad. You are going to be pre-med, so biomedical sciences degree with a minor in chemistry and business. The business would help you, but I don't imagine the medical helps you a lot in what you're doing now. How do you go from, hey, I'm going to be a doctor, to now I'm going to be a magician?
Yes, the age-old question. You know, of course, the biomedical science degree is the natural prerequisite for being a magician, I find out. No, I never really, I didn't necessarily consider doing magic vocationally ever. I certainly love magic for as long as maybe when I was 15 years old, I started practicing pretty hardcore every day and really studying sleight of hand and doing it all throughout college. But I was pretty convinced of like the route I would take, which would be I'll have a full-time career doing something else, some other vocational pursuit, something medically related. I did an internship doing pharmaceutical sales for Abbott Laboratories in Dallas, Texas, the summer before I graduated. And so I thought, oh, this is a great fit for me because I'll be out and about. I'll be personable, social.
Mm-hmm.
I'll mix and mingle with the doctors. I'll show them some magic, and I'll maybe slave my magic as a passion for something I do in the evenings or on the weekends. But I'll
Sure.
have this job as my forefront. And it's so funny because when I graduated, which was December 2009, they weren't extending out job offers, at least to me anyway. And it was kind of a sour time for the economy. And wasn't really convinced at that time that I wanted to go to medical school. Certainly a big pursuit, a big decision to take.
Sure.
So I thought, well, I didn't take my MCAT or any other entrance exams to professional school, and I didn't get this job offer. Well, I'm just gonna have to go back to Houston and kind of figure things out, maybe pursue some other options, and in the meantime, I'll do magic. Again, not that I all of a sudden graduated from college and said, "Hey, I'll be a magician today." It never went like that. But that was kind of the early seeds of once I moved back home, now transitioning to magic as a full-time pursuit. Not that it was intentional. It wasn't intentional, but it just happened to roll into one event, one contact, one lead, one mentor, one
Right.
a series of events that said, well, I guess I'll just do this. So,
Yeah. Okay, so I was reading you were, 8 years old when you saw your first trick or something like that really captivated your mind and heart. I love this.
Yeah, I was, we have some good friends of ours, at least my parents' friends, Blaine and Peggy Sampson. They're from Lawrence, Kansas. We would go out and visit them for Thanksgiving, usually every other year, make this pilgrimage out, load everybody up in the minivan and drive out to Kansas for Thanksgiving. And, my dad's good friend, Blaine, I guess he was he's still with us. He's an amateur magician. magic enthusiast. He's a hobbyist, but he knew one really, really, really good trick, and it was after Thanksgiving Day dinner, and the table was clear. We're all gathered around the table, and he had a pack of cards in his hand, and he simply held the cards face down. He showed one card at his fingertips. He said, "Hey Ben, red or black?" Which was a cue to me to guess the color of the card that he had face down in his hand. And I had no idea. My parents had no idea. 50-50 chance to guess. Whenever he showed me a card and I thought it was red, he would deal into a red pile. Whenever he showed me a card and I thought it was black, he would deal into a black pile. And 52 questions later, the deck was separated into two piles of my choosing. And then we hovered over those packets. He turned the cards over and revealed they had been perfectly separated into all reds and all blacks. And to say I was fooled was an understatement.
Yeah.
I had just been dumbfounded by paper. So if I had to pinpoint a moment in time my fascination with magic began, that was it. Jaw open, brain in a blender, and then denied by Mr. Sampson when I asked him, "Hey, how'd you do that?" So it was a thing that wasn't, it wasn't just like, oh, he was a guy doing a SpongeBob routine with floppy clown shoes and rainbow streamers, and
Right.
that's good for the kids. No, he took in the whole room, and of course my parents are in the room, and they're the smartest people on the planet, as far as I'm aware.
Sure.
And I thought what was so interesting about it too was that it was just a pack of playing cards that I probably had access to that same power. It's like, oh, wait a
Right.
second. You're saying that the thing you just took out of that pencil drawer that was with the rubber bands and the scissors
yeah,
and the
sure.
pens,
Yeah.
that thing that I have at home too, I could do the same thing if I only knew the secret.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of that barrier to entry, it's accessible because it's just cards,
Yeah.
but it's also unobtainable because you have to know the secret. I think that was very interesting to me. So,
Okay, so Ben, David Hyra has become a good friend of mine, and David is well known in the magic world. And what makes David so great is not just the fact that he's good at his craft, but he is so personable. And it seems to me that, and you follow in those footsteps from my perspective. It seems to me that you have to know the technical side of sleight of hand things. But if you don't sell the sizzle, if you don't connect with the crowd, if you don't have an engaging personality and the humor, I mean, it's a whole show that you're putting on. It's not just watch me do this with the cards.
yeah.
Now, we went, Debbie and I, on a trip, my wife Debbie, to Maui, and there's this comedy shop. What's it called? I forgot the name of it.
Warren and Annabelle's.
Yeah, Warren and Annabelle's. I guess it burned down
Yeah.
with.
Yeah,
Hy-
I know Warren Gibson.
Yes.
Yeah, we've communicated in the past, but I was fortunate to go see Warren and Annabelle's before it burned down. But go on.
Well, okay, so one of the guys that was there was technically, I mean, just A plus, but his personality, it wasn't like he was, I don't like this guy, but he's just not really like, man, this guy is awesome. His technical side was great, but the sizzle wasn't as good, so he didn't really build the whole, story, so to speak. So from your perspective, with a guy that does what you do, is it 50-50 on the technical versus the storytelling?
Oh man, you're right. There is a sliding scale. There's a spectrum of time investment. I think there are some guys at one end of the spectrum who spend so much time on craft, technique, the mechanics, the minutia, the dexterity, the muscle memory of the moves. We call these people technicians.
Right.
They can do amazing work, but if you put them in front of a room full of human beings, then they crumble. It's like, well, so it has to be both. And for my, in my estimation, the best performers that they can do both. They can be
Right.
super high energy, super funny, engaging, sincere, whatever it is, and also do some killer magic. I think like sometimes you hear a lot of talk about comedy magicians, and usually if you're a comedy magician, you really are not that talented as far as well, I shouldn't say talented, but the magic you're performing isn't that compelling,
Right.
and you lean too heavily on the comedy.
Right.
And so it almost becomes kind of gaggy. Oh, he's
Campy.
it's a punchline, it's a joke, it's a gag. But it's like, man, but now the magic suffers. Or but now if you come too down the other side, you're too focused on the magic, and now you have this personality like, hey, watch this red ball turn into this green ball, worship me. It's like, whoa, okay, so now
Right.
you're on the opposite end, which
Right.
is not where you want to be either. I always find that the best way I can approach it is, I want to be like your next door neighbor, like that fun guy you could have a burger with or a beer with, and also I can blow your mind at the same time. And, being approachable and likable. There's a great book by John Carney, a magician. He wrote a book called Cornucopia. And I think one line in the book that really sticks out to me is like, people are more sympathetic to humans than they are to gods. And so I feel like in my show, I have a lot of self-deprecating humor
Mhm.
and a lot of things where I poke fun at myself. Just to be like, hey, I know that your time is precious. You came out to see the show, so I want to deliver the goods in a bunch of fronts. I want to be funny, be high energy, but also like not let the magic suffer. So I know it's a lot of things to weigh as you're composing a show, and how do you showcase your personality and not cheapen the audience experience when
Yeah.
it comes to seeing great magic. So,
Well, I was thinking about this. So for you, pre-med, and so you become a surgeon, let's say. Well, you don't have to have a great bedside manner. It's nice if a doctor, especially a surgeon, has a good bedside manner, but you're
Sure.
really paying the guy to do well with your knee surgery, your heart surgery, whatever it might be. And so you might be not a very fun guy. I don't really care. I'm not hiring a fun guy. I'm hiring a guy. It's like an airplane pilot. I don't really have to interact with you. I just want to make sure you can, get this plane off
do
the
the
ground,
job.
land it safely. But your profession is way different from that, and I think that's one of the things. With David Hyra, who's been at our church a number of times, and David loves the Lord, and so he uses his presentation as a hook to share the gospel and to encourage people and to let people know that there's a God in heaven who loves them, who gave his son for them on the cross. And it's a great vehicle to do that. And you really are, as we saw in your show in Houston, you leave that place saying, man, that was a lot of fun. And I don't know how he did this. You won't remember this, Ben, but you called me up on stage because it's a fairly small audience. What, about 50 people or so? You called me up
60, that's right.
You called me up on stage and you had my driver's license in a number of minutes in a block of ice. I don't know how in the world you did that. I was mesmerized. I'm standing right there, and I don't know how you did it. And I guess you're not going to tell us. So,
Well, I wouldn't want to ruin the fun, but yeah,
No.
I love having those. I call those snapshot moments. If you can rewind the tape on the show and think about what do the audience remember about the show, if you can take it within a picture, like there I was with that block of ice and the driver's license inside, or
yeah,
the Rubik's Cube effect or whatever. It's always nice to.
It's just
make this
amazing. Well, we're talking to Ben Jackson. He's a world-class magician. He's coming to First Baptist Texarkana for a big event on Sunday night, August 17th. We encourage you to come. It's free, and we'd love for you to come. We'll come back to Real Truth for Today with more Ben Jackson. Don't go away.
Hello, Americans. I'm Todd Starn. Stand by for news and commentary next. The fallout continues in Cincinnati after a black mob brutally attacked white tourists in downtown. At least 5 people have been arrested, but the police chief said much of the blame should be placed on the media for reporting the story and social media users for sharing video of the attack. City Councilwoman Victoria Parks said she was grateful the tourists were attacked. She said the victims begged for that beatdown, her exact words. State Representative Phil Plummer called on Parks to resign. He also said the attackers should be charged with a hate crime. The Cincinnati Fraternal Order of Police said the councilwoman's comments were unconscionable. Now, the FBI has launched a federal investigation, and the Justice Department said federal hate crime laws apply to all Americans. That's all well and good, but until schools eradicate critical race theory, I'm afraid these attacks are going to get worse, Just remember, we are all made in God's image. I'm Todd Starnes.
How much control, unfortunately, the executive office does have to direct a lot of these procedures in terms of amnesty, what they can do, even though Congress needs to step it up. And we know constitutionally they should be making sure that the law reflects the American position. But law enforcement is the executive branch. And if you're not enforcing the law, then the law is merely just on paper.
Jenna Ellis in the morning, weekdays at 7 Central on American Family Radio.
Every weekday, strengthen your family and your faith with Family Talk.
I had the same brain when I was at the bottom of the class that I had at the top of the class. Exactly the same brain, but a different attitude. What does that tell us about our responsibility to develop the intellect of the people in our spheres of influence?
Don't miss Family Talk with Dr. James Dobson every weekday at 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. Central on AFR.
Hey, I'm Brant, and her name is Sherry.
Hello.
She's a friend of mine whom we were just praying for because of a surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is
Medi-Share.
That is right.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with Medi-Share and the healthcare bills?
Honestly, Brant, seamless. And what a blessing that is when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems. And let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in with your need, that is just...
It is refreshing.
Yes, that's what it is.
What I keep telling people. People love Medi-Share, and they love saving tons of money, too. The typical family can save $500 a month.
I am very thankful for Medi-Share. It is so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way.
It is good different. Call now. They're easy to talk to, and you can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 833-44-BIBLE. That's 833-44-BIBLE. 833-44-BIBLE.
This is Real Truth for Today. Podcasts of the program are available on the podcast page at afr.net. Now, back to Pastor Jeff Shreve.
Welcome back to the program. Pastor Jeff here. We're talking to magician Ben Jackson, world-class magician. 1 Corinthians 9:23 says, I do all things for the sake of the gospel. That's what the Apostle Paul said. He wanted to win people to Jesus Christ. We want to win people to Jesus Christ at American Family Radio, American Family Association, and at First Baptist Church in Texarkana, Texas. And so we're having a special event on Sunday night, August 17th at 6 o'clock with Ben Jackson. Now, the purpose of the event is to draw people in. This is something that's different. We don't have programs like this in Texarkana. Now, if you live in Houston, you can go see Ben at the Four Seasons Hotel. But if you live in Texarkana, you got to travel 5 hours to go to Houston to go see him. So we're bringing him here, and we're going to wow the crowd, so to speak, and just bring people in for a fun time. But the purpose is to then share the good news. Now, Ben, Andre Cole, he's kind of magic royalty from what I understand with the tricks that he did. You're looking like you don't know who he is.
I don't know. Andre Cole. I mean, if I saw a picture of him, I'd recognize him, but go ahead.
Well, Andre, when I was in seminary, Andre came. He had big illusions. And
okay.
Okay, and he had like two 18-wheelers that would come in. He came to Champion Forest Baptist Church when I was there, and we did 2 nights of Andre Cole and his amazing magic tricks. He would walk on water. He would do things. And then at the end, you asked David Heyer about him. At the end, he would do a thing about the resurrection, and he had a trick about, and he shared the gospel in his trick. But that was the first time I got interested in saying, hey, that's a good way to draw people in to share the good news with them. And so, have you done these things at churches before?
I've certainly done programming at churches before, yes. Whether it's been for like a youth ministry or I've done like a kind of like a date night for couples, for like, we're doing a Valentine's Day theme, bring your spouse, come out and have fun at the church. So I've done things like that. I have done a specially themed trick, actually with David Heyer's help, for an Easter service. That was like 10 years ago though. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it's few and far between. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Okay, I was thinking about this. We had Dana Daniels. You know who Dana Daniels is?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
so another one of David Hyra's magician friends. We saw him when we were at Warren and Annabelle's in Maui. And
Yes.
he was excellent. And he has his parrot. He does all the comedy, and he sounds a little like Steve Martin, the way he comes across. And anyway, I asked him, because he does his whole thing with the parrot. And I said, Dana, have
Luigi,
you?
the psychic parrot.
Yeah, Luigi. I said, have you ever had the parrot like take off? And he said, no, that doesn't ever happen. When he came to First Baptist Texarkana, we have stained glass in the back, and the parrot flew into the glass, and it was it kind of didn't kill the parrot, but it stunned him, and it was kind of like, uh-oh, that's not supposed to happen. And so that leads me to this question, Ben. Have you had some situations over the years where it's like, uh-oh, this hasn't, now what do I do?
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah. People always say, do you ever mess up in your show? And I go, yeah, I'm a regular guy. Regular guys mess up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course. The thing is with magic, though, is that it just depends upon the severity of the mess up. Is it detectable or not? I think the one thing that we have going for us as magicians is that sometimes people don't know where we're going, where we're headed. And they may not be aware of the intended effect. So, for example, if I were a pilot and I was flying a plane, one of my engines went out, but I might still be able to land the plane. And maybe some people, I don't know how, how detectable that might be. Maybe that's a bad example, but in my world, that's kind of how I walk down that line, which is, oh, you know what? This didn't hit the way I wanted to, or you know what? I'm going to have to bail on this trick because something isn't going right, and I can pivot. I can almost wear an improv comedian hat, and I can, dance to the next beat and skip over something. And that's really one of the strengths that magicians have. And now there are some times where that's it. I mean, there's no recovery.
Yeah.
There's no recovery. You got egg on your face. You have to own it. And I have painfully experienced that before. So yes, it's always a humbling moment.
Are those situations early on in your career, or does that still happen?
No, I mean, certainly, I guess it's, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's necessarily more on early in your career. I think it's hopefully it's less and less and less. There's a great expression. I think also one that David told me. I don't know who to credit it to, but he said something to the effect of, amateurs practice something until they get it right, and professionals practice until they can't get it wrong.
That's a good say.
Yeah, and I really do take that to heart. When I'm putting a new routine into the show, it has to go through a lot of rounds of, I'm going to experiment with it in front of my mirror here in my office, and I'll work on a new piece, and then I'll slowly put it into maybe a private show at someone's house for a small audience, like a test group, a focus group. And we do a technique in magic, or really, probably a comedian does the same thing. We call it hammocking. It's like, where do you put in new material into your show? You put it in the middle, because like a hammock, you have a strong post and a strong post, and something kind of wishy-washy in the middle. So you want to open strong, end strong. You're going to try something new. Put it in the middle of your show,
right?
And so I'll do that. But yeah, I mean, like when I'm at the Four Seasons, I'll do for a typical weekend. I'm there on a Friday and Saturday night, and I do 5 shows during that time. It's 2 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, and Saturday's a long day. I'll do 3 hour-and-a-half shows back to back to back, 4, 7, 9, and you're really emptying the tank every show. And live theater, live entertainment. Yes, things have gone wrong, so I'm not immune. I'm not immune to mistakes, But I think sometimes though, I think when you win the crowd and people are on your side,
Yeah, they're rooting
you
for
could be
you.
tying your shoes. They don't care. It's like we're gonna have fun nonetheless. So I certainly want to give it my best, be mindful of, are there things I can do to prevent things from going wrong? Yes. But if it does, it's not brain surgery. It's just a magic show. You'll be fine.
I think, Ben, I heard a clip or a quote from George Burns. I think it was George Burns, and he said a paying audience is always better to perform in front of than a non-paying audience, because a paying audience wants you to be good because they've invested money. A non-paying audience is like, what are you going to do? What have you done for me lately? Yeah, that was
You're exactly right. It's so funny you say that. People say, well, what's your favorite type of venue to perform in? And I would say that it probably is the show at the hotel. And the reason being is for that very thing you mentioned, which is people are coming out and they're invested in the show.
Mhm.
They're invested financially, they're invested with their time, their excitement, their energy, their effort. They want to be there. It's date night. It's
Right.
you know what, gosh, it's family reunion. We haven't been around with grandpa and our 15-year-old granddaughter in a really long time, and we're
Right.
all getting together to have a great time. And so people are really, they're leaning on you to, hey, you're the focal point of our night. We invested to be here. And I tell this to a lot of performers. They say, my God, you do 3 shows in a day. Where do you get the energy from, or how do you stay sharp, or what refreshes you between shows? And I'll tell you, it's very simple. It's the awesome reality that they're there. They came. They jumped through the hoops. They bought your tickets. They parked the car. They got dressed up in the cocktail attire. They made their way up to see the show. And if you don't empty the tank for those people and you phone it in,
Right.
well, what a shame. What a shame. And so I contrast that to when I do a corporate group, and I make my living, doing really two things: my residency show at the hotel, and then also my other weekends and dates are all private corporate events. And I travel around, but a lot of my work is in Houston. It's such a funny, interesting dynamic because corporate groups, no one paid to see you. I mean, yes, the company did write me the check to be there,
Right.
but the group, usually you're a pleasant, or maybe pleasant's not the right word. You're a surprise nonetheless. You're like, what do we have tonight? Oh, we have a magician. Oh God, not one of those. And you have like this. You might have to prove yourself more quickly
Right.
and battle pre-existing stereotypes in people's minds about, oh, I don't know. And it's so funny. I had I had a group. I did a show for a bunch of lawyers. I do a lot of work for lawyers, but this one particular group was a holiday party, and we had a great time. Show was sensational, and they walked up to me and they said, Ben, when we first found out there's going to be a magician doing our party, we thought, oh, this is going to be so lame, so bad, so cheesy. I'm not interested. And I'm right here, okay, no offense. And I said, you know what? Can I just tell you this? The feeling's mutual. When I found out I was doing a show for a bunch of lawyers, my goodness, I thought, oh gosh, not those people.
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's funny to dip your toes in different pools and find out how you're what the response is. So
Okay, so Ben, with you, you do a lot of things with cards. You're very good. I saw in your bio that you actually performed in a movie as the hands for was it Jonathan
Joseph
Levitt?
Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience.
Oh my gosh. Well, it was a really fun thing. I've only done that type of hand double work once. And effectively, Robert Rodriguez, who's a director in Austin, Texas, he's the creator of a series of movies called Sin City, and it's based off of an old Frank Miller comic book. And anywho, they filmed the entire movie in Austin, Texas, in their studio on a big green screen. And effectively, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who plays the character known as Johnny, who's this young, cocky, card sharp hustler gambler guy. One of the crucial elements of his character is that he has to be very dexterous with his hands. He has to be skillful with the deck of cards. and they were looking for a hand double or a private coach to instruct him how to do some of these flourishy moves. Not necessarily magic per se, but one of the things they were really looking for is someone who could do a one-handed shuffle. Take the deck with one hand, split it in half, and then weave the cards in together with one hand, which is a skill set that I have. And they put out a casting call. I didn't even know about. My friend contacted me, I guess, who's in that world. It's like, hey, they're looking for a magician or someone who can do this stuff. And so here's the email, send off your information. So I was like, okay, I did. I put something together real fast and sent it to them. They called me within 5 hours and said, can you be in Austin tomorrow? Tomorrow. I said, sure. And so I, and again, I don't really know nothing about the director, the movie, whatever, but I go in, I'm in a boardroom meeting, in walks the director. I show him, he's like, hey, show me your stuff. I do all the flashy cuts and cool flourishes. And he goes, okay, you're hired, follow me. And I walk out of his office and like I was Dorothy leaving my black and white world into a land of color. And he opened the door, and in that same building, unbeknownst to me, was a movie studio and a movie being filmed right then and there. And I'm now on the set of this movie, and I meet Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm like, my gosh, hello.
That's Tommy in Third Rock from the Sun.
That's right. That's right. He was in Inception, and he was in The Dark Knight Rises. And anywho, and so it was just amazing to meet him. And my approach was very, at first they wanted me to teach him to do the actual stuff himself.
That would be too hard.
You can't do that in 48 hours.
No.
So very quickly we decided, all right, I'll just get me a duplicate costume, and we'll just do I'll do the hand work. And anyway, but that's kind of the long story short, which was I was there for like 5 days. And
oh, it took that long to do it?
Yeah, because it's so weird with filming a movie. It's they're on very tight time schedules, and when they need you like a heart attack, and when they don't need you, you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs. So I'm just kind of readily accessible. I'm the magician on call,
okay.
And so I don't know when they need to step in and film something, but when they do, it's like, get ready, do it right now. In fact, I actually have.
Did you go to your trailer, Ben, then when they were?
These are the actual cards I used in the movie right here.
Oh, is that right? Well, cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Was it okay when they say action? Are you a little more nervous doing the things that you normally do, or?
I mean, a little bit. Yeah, when you have like an entire cast and crew doing this. And now you got Frank Miller, like the famous comic book artist who also did illustrations for Batman, and who's watching, and now Joseph Gordon-Levitt who's watching, and now Robert Rodriguez who is watching, and the whole crew, lighting people, audio engineers, they're all watching.
Yeah.
Do it. I mean, and it also what was so hard about it was that my body, I mean, I was doing the move at such awkward angles to
so they
really
could just get your hand.
Crop up. So I'm really doing something in a very foreign position that I've never done it before in my life. So it was certainly pressure filled, but when you get that, get that take, that's all you need.
That's good. Well, we're talking to magician Ben Jackson. You're listening to Real Truth for Today. Pastor Jeff Shreve here. When we come back from the break, we'll open the phone lines and take your calls at 888-589-8840. That's 888-589-8840. If you have a question or a comment, please give us a call and let's talk. We'll be right back.
I'm very concerned about the current young adult Christian fiction genre. I read or started reading over 24 Christian YA novels. Many never mentioned Jesus, and many had empty or confusing Christian allegories. How can we offer our children real hope when we are simply repackaging what the world offers? Let's look to our Creator God to help us write better stories. Find the full article, Read 'em and Weep, by me, Joy Lucius, on thestand.net.
AFA Action takes attacks on the family seriously. The enemies of the family constantly employ new tactics to try to sneak past our radar. They know if we stand together, their evil plans will fail. Your gift to AFA Action allows us to stay vigilant against their onslaught. And if you give this month, you'll receive access to the Cultural Institute video When Your Faith is Illegal by Frank Harbor on AFA Stream as our thanks. You can make your gift today at afaaction.net.
Hi, I'm Jan Harper. If you are a pastor's wife, come be encouraged and renewed as you share your challenges and stresses unique to pastors and their wives.
The AFA Pastors and Wives Fishbowl Retreat is coming October 28th through the 30th. You're invited to join us at Pickwick Landing State Park in Counce, Tennessee for 3 days of encouragement, renewal, and worship. Once again, Brother Bert Harper, AFA Director of Family and Pastoral Ministries, will host the retreat along with his wife Jan. Our special speaker will be J.J. Jasper of American Family Radio. If you've attended in the past, we'd love to see you again. And if you've never experienced a fishbowl retreat, we especially invite you to be refreshed and renewed. The per-couple admission price includes lodging, meals, and materials. Visit repairingthefoundations.net to learn more and register. That's repairingthefoundations.net.
The AFA Pastors and Wives Fishbowl Retreat. We'd love to see you there.
American Family Association President Tim Wildman.
Why does AFA exist? Well, we're here to inform, equip, and activate individuals and families to transform the culture. We want to make an impact on our country for Christ. That's the reason my dad, Don Wildman, started this ministry 40 plus years ago. Dad was concerned about the direction America was headed, and he was determined to do something about it. Maybe that describes you today. If it does, I want to strongly encourage you to consider a charitable gift annuity to American Family Association Foundation. This will benefit you, and it will ensure that we stay in the fight for a long, long time to come. That's the AFA Foundation.
Call the AFA Foundation at 800-326-4543, extension 345. That's 800-326-4543, extension 345.
If you'd like to contact Pastor Jeff, email pastorjeff@fromhisheart.org. Now, back to Real Truth for Today with Pastor Jeff Shreve.
Welcome back to the program. Pastor Jeff here, talking to renowned magician Ben Jackson. He's coming to First Baptist Texarkana in just a few weeks on Sunday night, August 17th, for a big night. Invite your friends. It's free. And Ben, we talked a little bit about that. It might be a little difficult since it's free, but you're going to be coming into people that want to be wowed and want you to do well for sure. But we want people to bring their friends. We're doing this for the sake of the gospel, to share the gospel with people, to tell people about Jesus who's mighty to save. And so, Ben, that brings me to your own testimony. So you grew up in my neck of the woods. You went to Klein High School. And my wife taught in the Klein School District. I was in Cypress School District, and first graduating class of Cypress Creek High School, which is not very far from Klein. But tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mentioned Chambers First Baptist Church. I didn't, not that I attended there, but that was literally a stone's throw away from where I grew up. I grew up in York Minster Drive and Steubenville Airline, so I know exactly where you where you mentioned that earlier. I grew up going to John Wesley United Methodist Church with my mom and dad, and that's when I was kind of first exposed to the gospel. And we were longtime church attenders. Grew up going to the church, Sunday school, youth group, and doing kind of the traditional Sunday activities, but I probably didn't really start delving deeper into my personal relationship with the Lord until I went into Texas A&M, and I came across Breakaway Ministries with Ben Stewart, and I think his preaching and his passion for the Lord and his presentation of the gospel was so compelling. It's not as though I guess I didn't really feel as strongly connected in the church I grew up in, just because I feel like a lot of it was maybe over my head, or maybe I just wasn't fully mature enough to grasp the weight of the gospel, or maybe the sermons were too much about golf and I didn't really pick up on the metaphor. I don't know what it was, but I feel like with Ben Stewart, his his knowledge for his knowledge for scripture, his also ability to kind of bring in other historical context or outside maybe literary references or historical events or just another way to connect to people that was so compelling, that is very moving to me to really understand and unpack the tenets of Christianity even more so. And I feel like that's when I think it's a transitional time in your life anyway, to really be kind of out from underneath mom and dad's roof and kind of find out who you are as a person and where you want to lay your roots in. And I feel like not only that was a big pivot point for me, but also being in an organization called Impact at Texas A&M University, which was a kind of it's a Christian, almost like a fish camp, freshman orientation camp for incoming students. And I feel like that time with me in that organization with the men's group I was involved with was also a very formative experience, because it was really the first case I had seen a lot of raw vulnerability with men who were trying to pursue trying to pursue living out their faith and admitting when they had fallen short and trying to chase the path that would bring God the most glory and say, hey, I'm struggling here. I want to press into you here and be accountable on certain areas. And so that was a very formative time for me in my faith with Christ. And I really value those years tremendously. So that's kind of the origin story, where a lot of that same kind of maybe came more apparent and more clear for me. But not necessarily hit by lightning. All of a sudden I was in a deep dark place and now my life turned around. But I feel like, as it is with the case with everyone who's reconciled back to God, it's a heart change. It's a change of temperament. It's I desire this and not this. Right. And that's, I think, how God woos us back to his love. Yeah.
Okay, now Ben, you got married in what year?
2016.
Okay, and you have, I'm trying to remember, is it 3 kids? Don't you have twins?
I have 3 girls. Yeah, I have 3 girls. I have a pair of twins. They are 2.5 years old. They'll be 3 in October, and I have an 8-month-old baby. Her name is June, and she's 8 months. So it's 3 under 3. It's a wild house. It's wild.
Okay, I said at the start of the program, we're watching our grandkids, and so it's 3 boys. I had 3 girls and 3 boys. Boys are way different from girls.
Oh yeah,
they're just.
I believe it.
They're just, their attention span just seems to be a lot shorter. So they're tearing stuff up at a quicker rate. Although girls can hold a close second. So your house is busy.
I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, right now it's not like the girls are involved in any extracurricular activities. It's busy in the sense that, the Jackson house is run off of, as far as like our, how we make a living is through magic. That's what my wife's a stay-at-home mom, so we're very fortunate to have that. And so she's working all day. She's working all day. She gets up with the girls. It's an incredibly hard job. And so it's kind of, I don't want to say divide and conquer, because that kind of, it doesn't have the right tonality, but a complementarianism of, you have responsibilities, I have responsibilities, and when I'm not doing my responsibilities, I want to hop in and help you with your responsibilities. Right. And so we're being pulled in a lot of different directions. And of course, as a business owner, you wear a lot of hats. You're the accountant, you're the marketer, you're the executive assistant, you're the talent, you're the, you wear a lot of hats. I mean, especially when I get phone calls because people mess up their ticket order to buy tickets to come see me at the show, I'm the guy who answers the phone. And they're like, oh, hey, I didn't know I was going to talk to you. Like, wow, here I am, So it's a small operation in that regard. So that's why it's a busy house in that sense of, if I'm not working here, I'm working with my wife and with our girls. So don't have as much luxury free time. And that's the hardest thing too. It's like, well, when do you work on new material? I don't know. When do I work on new material?
Right. Be
Yeah,
hard.
so
Okay, so I have a good friend. He's been on the program many times, and that is Doyle Dykes, who's an amazing fingerstyle guitarist. But he's playing the guitar all the time. He's practicing all the time, and because he's got to keep his dexterity up, and you got to keep at it with an instrument. But now, when you're doing all the stuff that you're doing with cards and your ability to maneuver the cards and all, you got to keep that up. Is that not right?
yes, I think so. You have to keep it up. I find that the way I keep it up is
Just
because I
performing.
perform all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily, as I once did, have, long practice sessions, staying in front of my mirror and working on new moves hour after hour. But because I perform so much and perform as my living, I'm always, inches away from a pack of cards. I'm always
Right.
doing this. I'm always doing it. So it has become a part of you, and but I'm not as necessarily dedicated to focus on new time, new dedicated practice time. But that is certainly the case when it comes to developing new material, because as opposed to a musician, right, who focuses on just one instrument, they play the guitar. Magic is, it's really all encompassing, especially if you want to have variety in your show, which I do. I don't
Right.
want to just have, the show just be the same thing over and over and over and
Right.
over again. Nothing, an hour and a half of card tricks is like, okay, how many ways can you find a card? So what people may not appreciate about Magic is that it is so multidisciplinary, where yes, you might be great with a pack of cards, but then you pick up a coin and you go, this doesn't translate. It doesn't translate. It's like learning another instrument, you know. So there's a lot of time invested just to even get yourself to a competent level when learning a new piece of magic. Now there are some things, where you can, like, I'm sure if I were a skilled guitarist like the guy you mentioned, if you just play that one instrument over and over and you get a new piece of sheet music, you can learn it right away. Likewise, if I read one of my magic books and it's a card trick, I go, oh, okay, you do this, 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 and this. Okay, I can put that together. But if it's a foreign thing, if it's a new routine that you've never done before, now you got to put in the work and start from zero. And now you feel like, what am I? But I've been doing magic for 15 years. Yeah, but you never done this. And that's the newness that each routine can bring, especially if the prop is different. And again, so much of my magic though too is it's not necessarily big box driven. A
Right.
lot of it is skill based magic, and I think when modern audiences go to see magic, and if it is a show consisting of a lot of big box stage illusions, they probably don't say that guy's amazing. They probably say
Right.
that box is amazing. And so that's how I feel about it.
Well,
But
okay.
that's,
So Ben, on those big box things, because they had the program on for a number of years, where it's the mass magician or whatever, and he was revealing all the secrets and stuff. But obviously, you're doing tricks, but you have to have skill to do those tricks. Some of the big box things doesn't seem like you have to have as much skill to pull that off. And once you realize how the trick is done, it's like, oh, well, it's kind of a letdown, because you think it's this, you think it's magic, and it's not. It's just this, illusion that you
there's
make
always
you
a method to the magic. There's always a method to the magic. There's nothing ever supernatural to anything that I do, but you're right. It's there's always a trick to it. Right.
So when you watch other guys, can you figure out pretty quickly what they're doing?
I would say yes for the most part, not to be braggadocious, but this is what I do. It's all I do. So I spend a lot of time, in this world of magic, and yeah, I think I can pick apart a lot of things. Not to say that I'm never fooled, because that's one of the nicest things you can tell another magician, which is hence the popularity of the TV show Penn and Teller Fool Us.
Yeah.
Which is the whole premise of that show, is to take two seasoned veterans, two seasoned pros, and try to get one past them. So that's a really nice compliment to achieve if you have.
Okay,
you should
now,
say, hey.
Yeah, Ben, I watched your segment on Penn and Teller, and they initially said, "Oh, we figured out how you did this," which was an amazing trick that you did. But then they came back and said, "No, we didn't think. We thought you did it this way, but you did it another way." So in magic, I guess there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny you mentioned that exact expression. That was the approach. And if for the viewers who are uninitiated, the trick that Pastor Jeff is talking about, I did a magic trick on the TV show Penn and Teller Fool Us. Well, it's a classic trick where you borrow a ring, you make it vanish, and the ring reappears inside of a ball of yarn. Now, I had additional layers to that. It wasn't just inside a ball of yarn in the core of the yarn ball. It was inside of a ring box that was tied with an elastic ribbon, a bow, and inside that ring box, was the ring. And the box was inside the ball of yarn, and the ball of yarn was inside of a sealed mason jar. And so there's different layerings to that effect. But if you read any magic literature, there's only one way to get a ring and a ball of yarn. You look at all the magic books, and if I showed that trick to anybody, they would say, "Oh, you must have done it this way."
Mm-hmm.
But that was the strategy in this case, was to develop another way to skin a cat, to develop a routine where, oh yes, I've seen this before. Oh yes, this is a classic piece of magic. Oh yes, I know where this is going. And then you lead them down the garden path and you turn the hose on them. And you say, well, not today. And that was the strategy. This trick was developed alongside a guy named Brent Braun out of Indiana, and we took a classic trick, a trick that I really loved doing, and also a trick that had never been on the show before, and made it where it was a brand new method. That's what we call how the tricks are done in magic. We call them methods. And this new method was really was incredibly fooling, and deservedly so. That's why they were quick to point it out. What's interesting about the show, of course, is why was there that kind of flip? Why do they say you didn't fool us?
Right.
I don't know how much time we have, but
yeah, we just have about 15 seconds.
Okay, well, long story short, they genuinely thought they had me. We had a conversation backstage because there was some confusion on stage, and to their credit, when they realized they were way off base, to their credit, they were intellectually honest enough to bring me back.
That's good. Well, we've been visiting with magician extraordinaire Ben Jackson. He'll be at First Baptist Texarkana on Sunday night, August 17th. It's free admission. We'd love for you to come, even if you have to travel a few hours. It's going to be a great, great night. Thanks for listening to Real Truth for today. Ben, thanks for being my guest. Go out today, shine for Christ, and share what great things the Lord has done for you, and God will use you as His witness. God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily